G'day guys, it's Braden from The Late Apex. This YouTube video is, as it says in the description, building a track bike on an absolute budget, starting with a motorcycle I got for $700. So the bike itself is a CBR 250RR from 1992. They're pretty common here in Australia, and they're a 4-cylinder 250cc bike. They make about 46 horsepower. So this bike that I've got is unregistered. I don't actually have a motorcycle license. I do all my riding on the track. However, I trawled around YouTube for ages trying to find somebody who was just trying to get out on the track and have a go at it, and I struggled to find somebody that wasn't either looking for brand new bikes or suggesting that you buy a SV650. So basically at the end of this video is some footage of me racing around the local track, but the build takes place over 4 weekends. And the first weekend I bought the bike, second weekend I worked on it a heap myself, booked a track day for the 4th weekend, and then third weekend went down and employed some mates to give me a hand just doing the things like radiator flushing and stuff like that. Everything that I did to this bike, I've never worked on motorcycles like this before. YouTube was my best friend. I answered a lot of my own questions through forums, through YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And I think that realistically with basic tooling, just about anybody can take a bike that isn't in great condition, troubleshoot and sort of fix it themselves. So I think that the core thing, my mantra would be go cheap and go now, and you're better off riding a slow bike as fast as it'll go than a fast bike really slow. We're all doing this for fun, not for not for the purposes of getting to MotoGP. And if you are, you're probably wasting your time here. Enjoy the video. If you've got any more questions, or if you want to know about the bike selection process, how you end up getting a $500 or $700 motorcycle that can actually perform pretty well on the track, I'll release another video soon, hopefully about that, and I'll discuss how you select a bike, the second-hand market, reasons for not going for a new bike or even for a modern second-hand bike. But yeah, if you have any questions, flick them through. If not, enjoy the video, and I'll see you soon. This is a video of my attempt at track biking on a budget, and this is my $700 motorcycle. It's unregistered, it's got no battery, it's got a hole in the radiator, but I bought it from a bloke that I found on a MC22 fan page here in Perth, Western Australia. Every single panel on this bike is mismatched. Half of them are not original, so it's got yellow and black side fairings, an orange tail fairing. The nose cone is in primer and it's aftermarket. The tank is purple, so it's going to look like an absolute rainbow going down the racetrack. But the plan for this bike is to simply get into road racing motorcycles in a very cheap, affordable way, and to try and show everyone else that's out there going, I'd love to go and do that, how you can without wrecking your pride and joy on the track, because this is going to be done on a absolute shoestring budget. And by shoestring budget, I mean I was stretching for $700 for the bike. So, a couple of things. First of all, the reason I went with the MC22 was because of its fantastic 4-cylinder carbureted engine, 250cc, so about, I don't know, there must be 75cc or something each, a little bit less, 67.5. And it produces 46 horsepower because it's the 1992 model, as you can see here, 1992, which means that it didn't actually adhere to what the modern road standards are, but you're allowed to run it because it was made in that year. After that, they bumped them back down to 40 horsepower, but it's sheer luck that it ended up like that. How I actually found the bike was I decided what bike I wanted, and it was this. Competitors to this in my mind were the Ninja 400, KTM Duke RC or KTM RC390, and then there were a couple of other sort of old school 90s bikes. Now this was essentially a Fireblade shrunk down, and that's why it's off of its face. This thing here has done 30,000 Ks, but I know it runs, I've seen it run, I've seen every gear work, the engine's still pretty nice. Its red line is at a fantastic 19,000 RPM, as I'm sure that you know, because if you're here watching an MC22 video, you're probably obsessed with them. So the whole point of this is to show you the process from cradle to grave in hopefully not too many videos of going from not even owning a motorcycle and never doing a track day to the whole shooting match. So I'll keep you updated. After a little bit of waiting and internet searching on the MC22, I have determined that I needed a new carb kit, new jets, new pilot jets, fuel mixture screws, seats and seals, etc, etc. And that bag there, which arrived in the post along with that one today, it should contain a carb kit and a new front windscreen for the fairing, which if you have a look at the previous video, it was missing. And then that bad boy there is actually from a guy on a forum who had a spare radiator, which is fantastic because, oh shit, because my radiator had a hole in it, a hole and quite a large hole too. So instead of buying a $400 replacement or the $100 Chinese knockoff replacement, this guy was able to send me an original manufacturer spec Honda radiator for about $100 delivered. So let's rip it open. So the next stage in this CBR 250RR race build process, I've got all of my parts. I've checked the fairings, fit everything. Got me a new radiator, it's got to go on. Got all of the gear, carby kit's been put in, but I've still got a broken jet to pull out of that. Life is life. So the best course of action to take typically with this stuff is bring it down to Dad's place. And if you think Dad isn't enough, call another generation and get Granddad to come and give you a hand. So today we'll be hooking into the bulk of it, spray painting these fairings, because a bike that matches in every colour passes scrutineering a lot easier than one that looks like it was thrown together from pieces out of a Lucky Charms box, essentially. I will keep you posted. Yeah, so here we're just going through the bike, got the carbies back on, cleaning up fairings for paint. My mate Blair's doing that, he's obsessed with it and wouldn't let me do it. And cap back on the fuel tank there, we're just giving it a good flush out and straightened up all the cooling fins in the radiator. Old Granddad, he is keeps trying to turn the motorbike off, but basically we had this. I decided to swap the engine radiator fluid over from an ethylene glycol based fluid to a Motul product called MoCool, just to get it to run cooler on the track. And it also means that if you do end up getting a hole in your radiator, it won't ruin the track out for everyone else by spilling oil. So yeah, we're just getting it hot enough with the thermostat lamp and flush all that stuff out on repeat. Sounds quite nice, but it's only at about 13,000 RPM, those little blips, and the engine's already warming up nicely. Pretty happy with it. So this is the finished product. This is Sunday evening after a 2-day haul to get this done. The pillion seat's got an Oki strap over it just to hold it on for the ride home. Very, very pleased with the result, and it runs brilliantly. The $1,050 build price tag is looking pretty good, and the only problem with it, I would dare say, is those rock hard Aromax tyres. We'll look at swapping them out. Yeah, so here we're looking at the same bike just a bit later on in the week. Ended up going and blowing the budget on a $500 set of tyres. With safety in mind, the Dunlop Aromaxes that were on it, that had turned Seppo and were 5 years old, just weren't going to cut it. And instead of throwing this bike and myself down the track, we bought a pair of S21s from Bridgestone, which should last 2 years. So basically, as you can see from all that, the bike is done, which is awesome. So what I had in mind was building a track bike from cradle to grave for under $1,000. Bought the bike for $700. When I factored in the new radiator was $100, and then it was about another $100 for a carby kit and for a windscreen, and then another $50 for a battery. So I ended up spending $250 there, and then there was another approximately $100 on consumables, which ran me up to 350 bucks, as well as a $700 bike. Ended up spending just over $1,000, which isn't bad at all, considering if you go anywhere else, the solid piece of advice I seem to hear is get a Suzuki SV650, or go out and get yourself a Yamaha R3. These are all fantastic options, but you're going to spend twice as much money. If you are willing to put in a little bit of time and effort, you can get a bike that goes really well around the track. I'll show you some GoPro footage now of Barbagallo International Raceway in Perth, and I'll just cut it up into a couple of snippets, but this bike was fantastically fast, and it was running about 7 or 8 seconds a lap slower than a lot of blokes on 600s, so I was more than impressed with it, and enjoy. I'll see you next time.